Hey, it's Sue. Welcome to the Lenormand Lovers. I'm so happy that you're here and that you have an interest in learning how to read Lenormand cards. They're my favorite. So I'm going to let me share my screen with you and we'll get started. Today, we are going to talk about two card combinations. So one of the great things about learning how to read Lenormand cards is that they help you connect with your intuition. So let's get started. So what are Lenormand cards? We covered this. I'll go through it pretty quickly. So they're named after Mademoiselle Lenormand. She was a French professional fortune teller who lived back during the time of Napoleon. She was considered the greatest cartomancer of all time, highly influential in the wave of French cartomancy that began during the 18th century. She didn't create the cards, but she became famous for using them with her clients. This is a very simple deck, 36 cards, illustrated, fairly concrete, literal meanings, and they're known as Petite Lenormand. As with all fortune-telling vehicles, these are to be used for fun and for a form of entertainment and to not rule your lives. We're all born with free will that we need to exercise when making decisions daily. So why Lenormand cards? They're very straightforward. Each symbol represents something, an object, a person, idea that speaks directly to each one of us. We use our own personal symbol vocabulary or spirit vocabulary to tell the story that shows up in the cards. If I was to mention to you, let's say flowers, you immediately have a picture in your head, not only of what flowers look like, but what flowers mean for you. And that's where we pull our spirit vocabulary. So there's only 36 cards that are anchored in simplicity, making the foundation work to prepare to read the Lenormand cards easy to grasp. The deck is very small and easy to hold in your hand, like a deck of cards, which we like. So the benefits of reading Lenormand. Working with the Lenormand cards will strengthen your connection to your intuition. Being so easy to read, Lenormand cards will strengthen your confidence in your reading skills very quickly. They can show you the direction you're heading in any situation at any time, and it's up to you to decide if you want to stay the course or change your energy and move in a different direction. The cards serve as a messenger from your higher consciousness. All the answers that you seek to any situation already lie within you. You just have to tap in to your intuition to hear the message and the answer. These cards are eerily accurate and can give a glimpse of your future, helping you to prepare and manage your life. So the resources, I use two different kinds of cards. I use the Learning Way Lenormand. I love them. They're just so beautiful. And I use the Blue Owl. They're very, very simple, kind of old-fashioned, easy to read. And this is a must-have, the Essential Lenormand book by Rana George. This is it's just broken out so beautifully. Each card gets 2 or 3 pages that talks about a very extensive meanings, but you don't need to memorize them, because what really is important to tap into your intuition is what that symbol means to you, because it'll show up for you in a way that you will understand without having to strain your brain to remember. All of these things are available on Amazon. I studied under a very talented teacher for several years here in St. Louis, building my reading skills. This led to my reading for the public in 2017. From all of this that I'm going to tell you, choose what speaks to you and leave the rest. So some decks, I also want to point out, come with extra cards. They might have extra people cards, like a young man versus an old man, or a young woman versus an old woman. I have a deck that has a couple of different versions of the birds. Might be owls on one card, might be little parakeets on another. I have a deck that actually has like a bonus card. I'm not sure what that's for. So again, I would start with the basic 36 cards as you learn how to read them and interpret the symbols. So I've done some previous videos. The first one was all about building your spirit vocabulary, choosing one word meanings for each cards. So if you haven't watched that first yet, I would go back and watch that. There are no set rules, and practice is key to your experience. So Two card combinations. So Lenormand cards are read in pairs of two, coming together to create a prediction that tells the story or answers the question that's asked. The symbols flow together to give clarity about the past and to give you a glimpse of the future. Combining cards helps us blend the story of the cards, and stringing the cards together is what makes a coherent statement. So one of the Lenormand reading formats uses all 36 cards, but you don't read all 36 cards. You read them two at a time together, depending on where they are in the reading. So learning how to read the two card combinations is fundamental to building your foundation for reading Lenormand cards. All right, so you're going to use your spirit vocabulary. So you're going to look at the very first card as the subject in a two card reading, and the second card as the description that modifies it. Or the first card is the noun and the second card is the adjective. So I had to, get refreshed on what the meanings of all this was, because I'm not an English teacher. But a noun is a word that identifies a class of people, a place, or a thing. And the adjective is a word or phrase related to the noun that modifies it or describes it. So it's really not as hard as it sounds. Anyway, here we go. Two card combinations. Today we're going to be talking about two card combinations with the ship and the other 35 cards. So for me, ship means travel or journey, but there are other connotations for it, and you have to use what speaks to you so that you can easily remember when you're doing a reading. So my spirit vocabulary is travel, but it could also be vehicle because it moves. So it can be a car, a ship, an airplane, any kind of transportation with a motor. It can also represent someone from another country other than yours. So then that would be a foreigner. It can also represent foreign business. You would look at the cards around it. So picking your spirit vocabulary word for ship, we're going to get started. Now I'm using travel. So now we have news for ship and writer. So this would be news of travel. So a trip coming up. Clover for me is lucky. So this would be a good trip. The next one, ship and house. So house for me is my home. So I would say this is travel to home. So maybe you're going back home, or maybe it's a holiday trip coming up. So tree for me is health. That's my main one, but there are several others. So this could be, a healthy trip. This could be, so maybe getting sick on your trip. So let's put seasickness. I cannot spell. So seasickness. And then we have clouds for me is confusion. So I think this could possibly be, maybe you're thinking about a trip, but you can't really see it yet. So it could be uncertain travel. Now we have the snake, and that old snake is kind of interesting. So for me, snake is usually danger. So this would be, let me put in danger, danger. So it's not, it could be a dangerous trip, but it could also be problems related to the trip. So let's say you chose ship to represent business overseas. So then you could have problems with your, importing business, or problems with someone from overseas. Coffin is ending, not necessarily death, but, endings. So your trip could come to a sudden end, or your trip is canceled. Bouquet is a gift. So I would say this could be a surprise trip, or a happy trip. a maybe it's just a big trip. Now we have the side. The side can be hard to read in a reading. It's generally is some sharp, you know, like surgery. So this can be a lot of things. Someone could be traveling for surgery. There's a big movement now to having surgery out of the country because it's less expensive. Scythe for me mainly comes up as speed. So I'm going to say this is a fast trip. Could be even a trip maybe that's cut short, or a sudden trip. I like sudden trip better. Oops. All right, so the whip is repetition. That's what that means for me. But it could also be arguments. Maybe you're arguing over the trip. So it would be a troubled journey regardless. So also, though, you have to go with your instinct. So whip and travel could be, it's a repetitive trip. So maybe you're reading for someone who's in sales and they're going to the same places over and over and over again. All right, so birds for me is, well, life coaching, but also talking. So you could be talking about a trip, discussing the trip. All right, so now we have the child. Child can be new. So a new trip, it can be a small trip. It could be starting on a new journey. So let's say a new journey. So the fox can be sneaky or it can be work. I like to think of it mostly as work because I like to read in the more positive frame of mind. But let's do both. So let's say sneaky, and then I'm going to put in work. So we can have a clandestine trip. You're sneaking off to see someone, or you can have a work trip. Again, it would depend on what some of the cards are around it. So for example, if close by is the tower, tower is usually a business card. So then I would definitely think it was a work trip. But let's say you had the ship and the fox and a man. That feels more like a clandestine meeting, sneaking off to see someone. Okay, so we have the bear next. The bear can be business. This is what I'm going to choose it to be, business and travel. So I'm going to say this is a business trip. Then we have stars. For me, it's wishes and dreams. So I'd say this is a dream trip, something you've been waiting for a long time. The stork is transition. So we have transition and travel. So this would be a journey of change. And you'll notice if you get my full sheet with 2-card combinations, that what I'm typing in now might be different than what's on those sheets because it has to do with just what comes up in the moment using your spirit vocabulary. All right, so the dog is your loyal friend. So I would say this is, you know, traveling with a friend. Then we have the tower. So again, that could be work. So it could be a lot of things. So the tower is any multi-level organization. So it could be government, could be an insurance company, could be a hospital, could be a prison. But it's generally something big, or it can be isolation. So maybe it's solo travel. Whoops. I'm also going to put in, of course I can't spell, but I'm also going to say work travel, depending on what else is around it. All right, let's go to the next page. So the garden. So the garden is your social group. So this could be, you know, this could be a tour. This could be a social trip. I can't see it. Oh, social trip. It could just be something as small as traveling to an event. A mountain. So for me, that's obstacles. That's what comes up most of the time. It can also be delays. So this could be travel is postponed. Then we have crossroads, which is options and choices. So we would have, you have multiple trips that you could consider, or just trying to make decisions for the trip. Then we have mice. So that is usually diminish or stress for me. So it could be that it's a stressful trip, stressful journey. So heart, that's love. So maybe this is a honeymoon. Then we have ring. Ring is commitment. So for me, and also be circular, what comes around goes around, completing something. So you could be completing the journey. It could be a contract. Okay, so rings are also commitment with contract. So maybe this is a foreign contract related to work. All right, so book is usually secret knowledge. So this could be, books also education. So it could be an educational trip. So maybe it's a school field trip. So letter is written communication. So this could be, maybe it's a travel journal. It could also be a ticket, the actual ticket itself written out. All right, so then we have the man and the woman coming up. And this could be something as simple as your travel companion, or it could be, you know, a male foreigner. So female foreigner as well. Then we have the lily. So for me, that's usually peace and tranquility. So what if it's a spa trip? That would be fun. Sign me up for that. They also, I have written down senior cruise. So the lily can represent a senior person, or so maybe usually a senior male. So a senior trip. You know, those jet setting seniors. So now sun for me is success or happiness. So I'm going to say this was a great trip. The moon is emotion, or also psychic. So moon, emotion, this could be traveling also at night. The key is solutions. So this could be, so trip is also foreign things. So let's say travel from afar or solutions from afar. So fish is resources and also water as well. Fish is also sometimes just fish. So maybe this could be, well, this could be foreign resources. This could be a fishing trip. Anchor is security. So this could be, you know, dropping your anchor in port. So you're reaching your destination. And then we have the cross, which can be a burden. So traveling could be a hard trip. It could be a pilgrimage. So these are my words. Again, my spirit vocabulary. So you have to come up with yours. So I'm not going to walk you through each of the combinations today. We'll come back and each video, if you come into the next video, you usually can move forward to about 6 minutes in and just do that word. You can do your own on your own to complete the assignment because it's pretty self-explanatory. And yes, that would mean for each of the 35 cards, you need to come up with 2 meanings. You have the handout to complete this assignment. My gift to you is the full 2 combination list. But again, that's my list. And unless you completely identify with my spirit vocabulary, it won't mean as much to you. But anyway, follow the links below the video to get the handouts. So next steps, I'm going to be creating, it takes a while to do this, but creating 3-card spreads, 5-card spreads, a portrait spread, and eventually the grand tableau. And I hope that you'll join me for each of these. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please drop me an email at sue@piedpiperofpurpose.com. I won't analyze your readings, but I can help you if you're stuck or have a question about how this works. In the meantime, I'm very proud of you for doing this. This is so much fun. All the answers you seek are within. You just have to go in and look at what the symbol vocabulary means to you. All right, my friends, thank you so much. We'll see you on the next recording.